If you loved our last live stream in Saudi Arabia, then I've got good news for you because we are going to America, baby. We are going to be live from Los Angeles inside the BMO Stadium as one of the greatest cards in boxing history takes place. And in the main event, the best boxer in the world, Terence Crawford, challenges for his 4th weight world title against one of the hardest fights out there, Israil Madrimov. And the card is stacked with Andy Ruiz Jr., the man who dethroned Anthony Joshua, making his long-awaited return against Big Baby Miller. 600 pounds of heavyweight monsters colliding in the middle of that ring. We've also got the young superstar Pitbull Cruz defending his world title against Jose Valenzuela. Not to mention 2 of the best heavyweights out there in Martin McCauley and Jared Anderson, putting it all on the line at a young age to find out who was going to be the future of the heavyweight division. Oh, and I forgot to mention the man, the myth, the legend. Eminem is performing multiple tracks live while I'm going to be on the live stream. I can't wait. It's going to be crazy. We'll see you there live August 3rd on the Pain Game YouTube channel. Now, as you know, I'm going to be live this Saturday for the Riyadh season card between Crawford and Madrimov, and you lot can get the pay-per-view and get a little discount as well from the home of boxing, DAZN, when you use my link in the description below. You'll get a 12-month plan, and the first month will be free when you click that link. Appreciate everyone. You're helping us power the channel, and I'm going to do my predictions today for the card. But first, I got to talk about one of the competitors on the card, because Andy Ruiz Jr. not that impressed with Anthony Joshua's comeback by the sounds of it. Now, don't get me wrong, he didn't say it in a way of like, oh, it's fucking shit. It was more like he had easy fights. To be fair, he's saying he needs to do a similar thing for his own comeback, but you're never giving anyone a compliment when you go, well, he had easy fights. I mean, what do you want? It's definitely detracting from what a lot of people have been praising lately in the comeback for AJ. And look, I can't lie, they're 1-1. That rivalry still needs to be settled in my eyes, and I still want to see the 3rd fight. But let's take a quick look at what he's actually getting at, because look, Francis Ngannou, people now in retrospect will look at that and go, easy fight. The guy was an MMA fighter. Yeah, but he went 10 rounds with Tyson Fury and dropped him, and never at any stage in that fight looked in any danger whatsoever. So although we can now revise that and go, well, it was an easy fight because he made it look easy, beforehand, it seemed like a dangerous fight because Fury had fucking hell with him. It's Tyson Fury's fault that I had any belief at all in that fight, by the way. But I guess I can kind of understand where Ruiz is coming from after the fact. Otto Wallen had 28 fights before AJ and only lost 2, and one of them was against Fury. And in that Fury fight, a lot of people might have expected to say that stopped if it wasn't for the fact that it was the Golden Goose Tyson Fury, because his cut was terrible in that fight. He gave Tyson Fury a legit problem. So, look, yeah, now we can look at it again and say, well, after the fact, AJ made it look easy. He fucking did. But before that fight, it was a legit test. Helenius, he's right. I can't lie. Helenius was easy. However, Helenius was a backup for Dillian White, who popped for drugs. So again, it's not like they were planning it out and being like, well, this is a fucking an easy fight. Dillian White isn't an easy night, generally speaking. I mean, he was pretty easy for Tyson Fury, but aside from that, he's a good fighter. And Jermaine Franklin had only been beaten by Dillian White beforehand and actually boxed quite well on the night, I thought. So like, for Andy Ruiz to say that, I can't help but think he's just trying to set things up, because obviously he's fighting Big Baby Miller this weekend. If he wins that, that is a springboard back into the conversation. And I ain't gonna lie, I really want to see how Andy Ruiz does in that fight, because he is one of only 2 people to have beaten Anthony Joshua. And despite everyone saying, oh, it was because he had an off night, AJ, and he wasn't anticipating what he was bringing to the table, the skills were still there. There's plenty of times where AJ has not been at 100% in my opinion, but no one's done that to him. Andy Ruiz has something in those fast hands that can give any heavyweight problems, especially if he's actually put a fucking training camp together. When you look at the fact that Anthony Joshua is now fighting Daniel Dubois, who a few years ago was seen as not a big deal, you know, a guy who may or may not make it, I could easily see a trilogy between Andy Ruiz Jr. and AJ down the road, especially if AJ reclaims this belt and there's a hold up between Fury and Usyk and Ruiz gets another big win in between, because AJ went and got that win back, but he didn't end it the way Ruiz ended the fight with him, you know? Like, there's got to be a level of, like, looking back at it now, Anthony Joshua knows he's improved a lot since then. He jabbed his way to a decision win and he got them fucking and bounce back because that was what was best for business. But there's got to be a part of him that's like, I want to fucking bury that bastard because he did that to me and I owe him one. But am I on my own with that? Let me know in the comments, would you be interested in that again? And I do think a lot of it depends on which version of Andy Ruiz turns up this weekend. When you look back at this version of him against Anthony Joshua, right, he gets dropped here by AJ. And a lot of people forget that happened, right? A lot of us look back at the fight and we talk about the way it ended and we forget AJ dropped him first. And the thing that makes that fight more spectacular now when I look back at it is that man got back up and went, is that what we're doing, is it? All right, I'm in a fight with you now. And took the fight to AJ. And when exchanging with AJ, how many people have faster hands than AJ in the pocket? Virtually none. When you look at Andy Ruiz's ability to stay in the pocket here, against that brutal power of AJ and reply and return fire despite having his chin checked a matter of seconds ago. That's something special. That the level of athlete we're dealing with, a lot of these heavyweight fighters, some of them just don't have that dog in them. He's got that. And for the fight against AJ, he'd come off of a training camp where he hadn't fought that long ago. So he was still in good shape. He was still fit and strong. It's not like the Andy Ruiz we're seeing now where he takes these big gaps between fights. I mean, the gap we're currently dealing with is 2 years in between Big Baby and his previous fight. And unfortunately, as good and as gifted as he is, it does affect his punch output, his stamina, his ability to maintain throwing punches later into the rounds. And that's actually something Big Baby's pretty good at. And look, this is in round 7, where Andy Ruiz is a fucking massive guy, even though he doesn't look that big compared to AJ. 270 pounds, and he's able to just keep this pressure going. And yeah, he does take little breaks, but I thought his fitness was fantastic for this fight. But when you compared it to this fight against Luis Ortiz, like, I mean, I'm watching the highlights here, but like, he's just not got that same level of energy. And, it's the classic problem of when fighters get rich and they just don't train to the same level. The desire goes. I do think that that's what this fight is all about for me against Big Baby, because Big Baby's going to stick it on you and he's going to ask those questions. And we're going to find out what the fuck has Andy Ruiz got left? What does he really want to achieve? Because you'll not even get the AJ fight if you don't start delivering right now. So this is Big Baby Miller in one of his recent fights against Brown here. And he takes a lot of shots. There's no two ways about it, and he's constantly coming forward. So if you can't handle someone coming forward, he's going to wear you down. But he is there, and Andy Ruiz, really, it should set him up to look his best, unless he's been lazy. If he's been lazy, he'll get what he deserves in this fight. Because to be fair, Big Baby, as much as I don't think he's anywhere near the level of talent as Andy Ruiz, he's a fucking tough bastard. I mean, look at these, man. 300 odd pounds behind this. He can still fucking crack, but he is significantly slower than Andy Ruiz. So I feel like if Andy Ruiz doesn't win this fight, it's like, well, what the fuck is the point then, mate? Because yeah, Big Baby is a big tough bastard. He's hard to hurt. Daniel Dubois punched him from pillar to post for fucking half an hour. It was hard graft. And I don't think Andy Ruiz's engine is as good as Daniel Dubois. I absolutely don't. But the talent alone should mean he's got enough to get the job done. So I really like this fight because we are going to find out where Andy Ruiz's head is at now. I'm going to pick him for the win, but if he doesn't, then fuck me. He's only got himself to blame. Now let's look at the main event, because Crawford and Madrimov is such a fun fight. I think it's a great challenge for Crawford. He's moving up to the 4th different weight class he's trying to get a title in, which would equal what Canelo has done. It's a huge task though, because Madrimov brings a lot to the table. For a start, he's younger. There's a lot of talk about Crawford's age, and at those lighter weights, there is a point where, fighters just can't keep maintaining their pace with these young cats and the reflexes. I don't think that's going to be an issue for Crawford, but it is worth mentioning. Madrimov does fight at a heavier weight, so he's probably going to have a more meat on the frame naturally than Crawford does, and potentially he might hit harder than Crawford. I wouldn't say that for a fact, but it's possible. For me, Madrimov is at his best when he's on the offense. I don't think his defense is his strongest point. I think he needs to stay on the front foot, and he needs to do what he did in this fight a little bit at times, which is be dynamic. You've got to keep moving. You get yourself hurt against Terence Crawford when you stay in the same place and you leave yourself available. He has to not stop fucking moving, and that takes energy. Can he keep that up? I don't fucking know. It's what Usyk does. He does have a little similarity here and there with Usyk, but it's going to be a hell of an effort from him. But if he can do what he did here in being dynamic with lunging in at times, that is something that I've seen works on Crawford, because he is very much trying to predict your every move, and if you do something completely out of the catalogue, like we're saying, yeah, with his good head movement and just trying to be a little bit herky-jerky, unpredictable, and then leaping round with that hook. That's the sort of thing that he's got to do. He's got to not stop moving. This is one of his last fights where he won the title, and you see those body shots are beautiful. He loves a good body shot, and he does stay right there in front of you sometimes. And look, this is where I'd worry about him, because Terence Crawford is not going to let you just tee off like that and not stay defensively responsible, keeping your hands up. He does like to sort of drop the hands occasionally, as much as that's a natural thing for a lot of fighters to do. And you see him finishing here. Terence Crawford is not a normal fighter. You can't get away with the same things against him that have been working against these other guys. I like the way he's trying to get in and out here. You've got to be really quick, and I don't know if he is quick enough for Terence Crawford, because his timing is elite. Again, he leans forward sometimes, and that does worry me, because Terence Crawford, if you're leaning forward and walking forward like that, he will find those holes that are clearly there. See, he's got good footwork there. He's causing problems, and he's going to need his footwork to be on point, because if you stay in that same spot that you're throwing the punch from and you don't get out of the way, Crawford will know where you are, and he will make sure you fucking pay for that. Looking at him, he is so well built. He is stocky. He's got a thick neck. I think he's going to be harder to hurt than Errol Spence Jr. was. Errol Spence just got pieced up and taken apart, and I think this kid is a lot more indestructible than Errol Spence is. You look here, Crawford in the corner. It's not like other fighters. He is happy to be in the corner. Come on then, put me under pressure. I'm going to make you pay. And that's just not normal. When you see Madrimov backing people into a corner, they close up, they're completely behind their guard, they don't want to throw punches. He is intercepting you. In the middle of your punches, he's landing. He might be the best person I've ever seen in my life at trading and always managing to sneak shots inside the looping hooks that are coming around to him and finding the gaps, which is really weird, because when we're trading like that, it ain't supposed to be that technical. It's about gritting your teeth. Who wants it more? It's time to be a fucking dog. And yet, Crawford, in those 50-50s, always comes off the winner. Always. It's mental how in the heat of battle, in the fucking, you know, the milliseconds we're dealing with here, he always makes those tiny little adjustments so that the hand position is always better than the opponent. And you don't even see it when you're watching. You got to watch it on the replay, because it's that fucking clever. He sneaks shots in, you blink, you miss them. And look, it is a move up in weight class, and maybe things can change a little bit. Maybe the weight and the strength of Madrimov could cause problems, but I am not seeing that level of skill from Madrimov. I think the experience with the age will actually be one of the main factors here. I actually think Crawford might have a longer reach than Madrimov as well, just looking at their limbs in the ring. The thing is with Madrimov is he does tend to sting people and render them a little bit like they don't want to exchange with him, which is a good sign for him. It means he's got good power. But I don't see Crawford just freezing like that at all. He will keep returning fire, and he will let him be the leader of the dance. All right, come on to me. But like he did with Avanesian, time him and fucking hurt him, in my opinion. I just think if Madrimov's defense was better, this would be harder for me to call. But I see too many holes, and if I see them, then fuck knows what this guy from the Matrix, Crawford, can see. But it is possible. Crawford, you know, might be a lesser version of himself for whatever reason on the night, but if this version of Crawford shows up, then I'm picking Crawford by stoppage. Now on to another heavyweight clash that night. It's Martin Bakole versus Jared Anderson. This is a banger of a fight and a really hard one to call, because Jared Anderson is seen by many as the future of the heavyweight division. The guy is 24 years old and built like he's chiseled from fucking stone. And the guy fights really well. But Martin Bakole is a fucking giant of a man, and he has power. And you know, you think to yourself, is this too much too soon? It feels like it might be, which is kind of why I admire the fucking balls for them to throw Jared Anderson in there with such a severe test. They're really wanting to know, like, what is this? Are we going to be great, or are we just fucking figuring it out as we go? And sometimes that works out really well and you win big. And sometimes it sets a fighter so far back that he never recovers from it. And this is why with people like Anthony Joshua, you want to build them up and build them up so that by the time they're having these really hard fights, they've been seasoned. It's such a huge risk, this, and I can't wait to see if it pays off or not. This is Jared Anderson versus Charles Martin, who actually AJ beat for the world title a while ago. And this was seen as a really good test for him at this point in his career, because Charles Martin is a southpaw, he's awkward, and he's got a lot of experience. You'll see with Jared, one thing he likes to do is he always keeps coming forward. He's got a great gas tank, maybe second only to Usyk in the heavyweight division, and those long arms are landing, and he's putting a fucking beat down on Charles Martin early on here. I like the way, beautiful little shot over the top there. I like the way he elongates his reach. He makes the most out of it. And a lot of fighters, when they don't do that, you know, they don't fully commit in the way he does. brilliant from him, the way he leaped out the way of that return, and he's got Charles Martin running here. And look, this is what you want to see from him in the Martin Bakole fight, because Martin Bakole has a fucking unreal height and jab, and he really commands authority in there, and you got to take that from him immediately. You see Martin Bakole here, right? He's taken it all at his own pace against Carlos Takam, who has been around for a long time, a credible opponent, but it's all his own way, right? Bakole's carrying a bit of belly weight, you know. He's not as fit as he could be, clearly. Like, he can't look like that and be as fit as possible. He's probably fucking fit for his size and the way he looks, but with him, you've got to take away the ability to control the pace, because if he's allowed to, as he showed against Takam, he's got beautiful shot selection, heavy-handed, and he knows exactly where to sink those shots in, and he'll just dominate the fight. And as you can see here, Martin Bakole just walking towards Takam as Takam is on the fucking run. And that's what happens when you've got that level of power. He's even saying to him, yeah, you want this? But you don't want this, bro. And look, this is what happens if you let him have that control. It is in no way allowed. Jared Anderson cannot stand off him. And that's the problem. You've got to have fucking good head movement when you're fighting a giant of a man like this. If you haven't got good head movement, this bastard can belt you in the stomach fucking anywhere, to be honest with you. I mean, look at that. That is horrendous. Look at that, man. Martin Bakole, he can really fucking hurt you. And this head movement is so important for that reason, because I'll be honest, against Charles Martin, that was one little thing that worried me a little bit from Jared Anderson. This is one example of where Jared Anderson just takes a clean flush shot to the head and just gets caught flat-footed. And that's why movement, head movement, leg movement, it's going to be so vital in this fight to maintain pressure, like what Usyk does. You got to be side to side against AJ, and you got to work your way in with a jab. I just think his tactics are going to be, there's either his winner or his downfall here, because there is a way to go about this, but it's going to be hard work, and you got to keep the pressure on him. And if you don't, and you let him have his own way, you're going to get fucked up by Martin Bakole, and the 24-year-old's dream is going to come crashing down. That being said, I'm going to pick the young lad. Maybe it's the romantic story of having a young kid like this on the come up. You want to see it, right? You want to see the young generation succeed. And I actually like Martin Bakole. It's not against him, but I want this kid to be the next star, because we need that coming through. We've got Daniel Dubois, but we've seen where his shortcomings are. Can this kid be the next big thing? We're just going to have to find out in this, but I'm going to pick him to win, and I'm going to say it's a late stoppage or a decision. But the point is, he's got to get this late. The early rounds are where Bakole is going to be fucking dangerous. So that's enough from me for today. Don't forget, we are live Saturday night from LA. It's technically going to be 1 a.m. in the morning Sunday, but it's well worth staying up for this if you're in the UK, because I'll tell you what, the card is fucking stacked. Every fight, I've gone further down than this, it's banger after banger, loads of knockouts. I'm convinced of it. If not, wars. It's going to be crazy. And on the live stream, Eminem is going to be performing in the stadium. My reaction is probably going to be mental, because I've liked this guy since I was a kid, right? This is like a fucking idol of mine I'm getting to see here. So I'm just so grateful to you. I know I keep saying it, but thanks for supporting the channel. I really appreciate it. And before I go, don't forget, if you want to watch the fight on pay-per-view and have us on your second screen or whatever, the home of boxing, DAZN, the link is in the description below. You'll get your first month free when you sign up for a 12-month plan. Big love to everyone who does that. As you know, it supports the channel, and we appreciate you lot. Without you lot, I couldn't be doing all of this, so big thank you. Anyway, from now, I'll see you on Saturday night.